Hey there folks, it's Renan again with another Conquest, the Last Argument of Kings video. We're going to be going over our tournament lists for an upcoming tournament beginning in June. It's going to be held on TTS, so that's Tabletop Simulator, so it'll be an online tournament. It'll be like one game a week, so there'll be plenty of times to hopefully record and process videos after each match and get those up as well. But the list that I'm going to be running is going to be an Imperial Feudal list. And one of the great things about being online is you can try things before you buy them, or try them before you put them together in some cases. And I decided to try 2 units of Steel Legion as my mainstays, or as my only heavies. And we'll kind of explain that as we get into the list, but I thought that was the thing that kind of made it stand out, as some people are questioning the viability of Steel Legion, so I wanted to give them a try on the battlefield instead of just, on the army builder on paper. Alright, so the first warband we have here, we have Imperial Officer, who is my Warlord, with 2 units of Steel Legion as the mainstay, unlocking 2 units of Hunter Cadre. You'll notice the Hunter Cadre are 180 points each. That's because I'm trying Null Mages with them. So this is my thought for this one. Normally I like a big block of Gilded Legion, but if I do want two Hunter Cadres, I don't have that extra slot without getting an extra Imperial Officer, so I'm deciding to make Steel Legion my heavies. So the Imperial Officer will go on one of these, so I'll get forward force, and the other one I can choose to automatically bring in. So on turn 3, both Steel Legion will be coming onto the board. Both Hunter Cadre have flank, so these 4 units will be coming onto the board whenever their turn to come on happens. So nice fast list. And also, just go over if you're not familiar with Imperial Officer, also gives Vanguard 5 to 2 units that are coming onto the board. So not only are they coming on pretty guaranteed, but they're going to be coming up the board fairly fast. My next 2 warbands are a Fire Mage and a Water Mage, both just with a unit of Mercenary Crossbowmen. The Fire Mage is going to be there to output some damage. It can also score zones until it loses a stand due to the 100 Kingdoms rule of getting the resolve bonus for your command stand for seizing. So both mages will be able to seize, and the Water Mage is there to do some incidental healing, and the Fire Mage is off to do some damage. I debated about just doing 2 Fire Mages, because I think the Fire is just better for doing damage, and killing units is a good way to prevent damage. But we are trying the Water Mage because in my last warband I do have a big brick of Household Guard. I have 6 of them with a Noble Lord. The Noble Lord has Armor of Dominion and the Gilded Rampart. So the Armor of Dominion makes it so that defense can't be modified by Smite, Armor Piercing, or Cleave. So they're going to be their solid defense 3, rerolling 6s from the Noble Lord. The only thing that can really get them is brutal impacts. So brutal impacts can still lower the defense, so you got to play around that. But also to help out with damage that does come through, we have Gilded Rampart, which is going to give the unit that he's in, the Household Guard, Oblivious. So you're going to be pretty tanky on your normal defense roll, but if stuff does get through, you'll have the Oblivious to help with the resolve checks. So just keep that unit alive on the board so that it can be healed by the Water Mage. We'll see how that all works out. I also have Get Position in on the Noble Lord, so the Household Guard will be coming in for free on turn 2 as well. Also in his warband, I have 2 units of Men-at-Arms, just as cheap chaff units to throw on the board. They can hold points. They're not really going to do a lot of damage, but they're there to just kind of hold zones, give some space for my shooting, because as you can see, I also have a unit of Longbowmen. So a lot of shooting in this list. I need some speed bumps to stop enemy forces from crashing into them. So we got some Men-at-Arms to hold points, kind of tie stuff up. No Seasoned Officer, so no Hardened in these units, but the Imperial Officer does have a bubble around him that he can give units Hardened if needed. I can also give that to the Household Guard to help with brutal impacts. I can also do Murderous Volley with the Imperial Officer if nothing else is relevant at that time. But that is the list in its entirety. It comes out to 1995 points, but there's nothing I can spend that last 5 points on. So let's get into the TTS experiment of it. Try before you buy or assemble. As I said, the Null Mages, they're 20 points each. They're pretty expensive. Honestly, I would prefer to just drop them and throw on like another stand of longbows, because then the longbows can score. But we're trying new things. We're experimenting. We're going to have some fun with this. So Null Mages, the problem with them is there's several fractions that don't have any target for them. Wadroon, Spires, there's only one modern Euroni. I guess I should state what the Null Mage does. It allows it so that if the unit of Mercenary Cadre is shooting into a regiment, and that regiment has any stand in it, or character in it, that has the priest or wizard keyword, they'll get deadly shot and deadly blade against that unit. And deadly shot, deadly blade means if you roll a 6 on your defense, you take 1 extra wound. So it's one of those things where there's multiple layers of things you need to check off, and then the result is it's 1 more wound. It's pretty powerful, and I guess it can spike up some damage, but I don't think it'll be that relevant. I think I'd try it here though, because with the big May 12th update, Sorcerer King's got a huge update. So I was like, one of the things it is really good against potentially is Sorcerer Kings. You know, you're fighting the Mahout. There's lots of casters around. If people are playing that to try the new like Earth and Water Elementals, maybe it'll be more Sorcerer Kings. Maybe the Null Mage can do something. Let's try it in its potentially best scenario. But there's a lot of things like Wadroon's very popular, and it doesn't help out at all against Wadroon. So we'll see what happens. If they were 10 points, I wouldn't feel as bad about it, but 20 points each makes it quite expensive, but we'll see how the games go. The next thing I'm trying is the Steel Legion. You know, just how does that warband, not warbad, work? You know, how do they hold up as the only heavies in the list? I'm not taking a big block of Gilded Legion, which is probably the tankiest thing you can get in the game with their Bastion and Pike Formation, and if you put some of the items on there that I have from the Noble Lord on the Imperial Officer, you'd probably have a much tankier unit, but, you know, the list is designed to come on fast turn 2, and then the Steel Legion are going to come up behind like a crossbows or the Hunter Cadre and be like, if you charge, clash my Hunter Cadre and wipe the unit, my Steel Legion are just going to, you know, free charge into you and then clean up whatever killed. So it's kind of a counter piece. The Steel Legion I'm hoping to just place behind like the Men-at-Arms Chaft or the Hunter Cadre, the longbows, the crossbows, whatever's being threatened on turn 3, and just be like, you can come kill them, but if you do, I'm going to just come kill them back with the Steel Legion. And then the other thing I'm experimenting is with the Household Guard, just to see how that holds up. It's a pretty big block, kind of expensive, especially with the items, but if you're paying that much for items, I believe it's like 55 I'm paying for the 2 items for the Noble Lord. You know, you want to spread that cost over a lot of stands, so we got a lot of stands. I just suspected the Gilded Legion would be much better, because they're just going to have a higher defense, and they have Pike Formation, which gets over the downside of Armor of Dominion. But it's going to be good practice because the Household Guard, you know, are going to be used in like Feast Feudal lists, maybe Feudal Order lists if you want the big Household Guard unit. If you don't have access to, or if you're not bringing in an Imperial Officer, you won't have the Gilded Legion. And then this block of Household Guard will probably be your strongest infantry block that you can take outside of it. So just quick highlights of the list, kind of what I was thinking when putting it together outside of the experimentation point of it is I have 5 ranged units to concentrate fire, so we're going to experiment with that many ranged units. I can essentially choose half of the board and use my big anvil of the Household Guard to hold a point, and then I can position or leave spot for that Household Guard unit. I can position my ranged units to support fire into there. Everything in my army is infantry size 1, so if I'm fighting any cavalry or brutes or monsters, I'll be able to shoot over my own forces into that target. So we're just going to try and make like death zones on half of the map, pick stuff off, and then see if we can flood the board with that incremental chip damage that I'm doing with all these ranged units. The other thing that I kind of mentioned already is that both the Cadre and the Household Guard are coming on turn 2 for free, plus I get to pick one, so I'm probably bringing one of the Men-at-Arms. On turn 1, I have just the 2 Chapter Mages and the Longbowmen. So I'm getting one of those for 3. So between turn 1 and 2, I'm only rolling for 3 units, and that's kind of inconsequential units, I guess. I want both Chapter Mages on, but if the Water Mage doesn't come on until turn 2 or turn 3 at worst, it's not terrible, because that just wants to follow up behind wherever the Household Guard unit goes. But I'm just going to allot in for free. 4 units for free on turn 2, and on turn 3, like I said, I'm getting both of my Steel Legion in, one with Forward Force, and then one is going to be my auto pick. By turn 3, the only thing that I might not have in is going to be 1 unit of Men-at-Arms, which is kind of whatever. They're just kind of chaff, so they can always, plug a hole up later in the game if they come on late. So that covers everything. Board fast. Yeah, and the key position, the key unit position around is that Household Guard. Just to make a simplified list, just getting into the tournament scene. A lot of wargame stuff carries over, but this is a rank and flank, so it's a little bit different I'm adjusting to. And just having one unit and being like, my game plan is, I have this one big unit that says, come fight me because I'm on a point that matters, and you can kind of build up your forces around it. Like the Chapter Mage with water needs to be around there, so leave a spot there. Set up your kill zone with the ranged units, and then in front of the ranged units, you put your chaff, like Men-at-Arms. Try and get 2 zones, or however, half of the scoring objectives, or fight, control one side of the map really, really well. Or one section of it, castle up, and just, fight your way out. Punch out with all your range damage. Some of the favorable matchups I've theorized, we'll see if I get them, and if they do go well, is like the Uppsala Giants. So if it's like Nords with the Satyr and a bunch of Jotnar, or if it's the City States with Talos and a bunch of Giants, I think I'll be okay in there. The Null Mages actually help with that, because a lot of those Giants are spellcasters as well, so I'll get the Deadly Shot / Deadly Blade. I have a lot of units for their. I think there's only like 6 or 7 Giants again in those lists. It's going to be a lot for them to punch their way through. The Household Guard unit should be able to hold up pretty well, because the Cleave won't help them at all. If they have Cleave, the Household Guard should hold up pretty well with the Oblivious and the Armor of Dominion and gain some heal. And then I just have so much range shooting to shoot over my own blocks of infantry that, even if you do charge one of my ranged units, I'll have 4 more to help support fire in. And then, like I kind of mentioned earlier, Sorcerer Kings, the big Mahout with the Spellcaster on it, I should get Deadly Shot on. All the other casters that are going to be throughout there with their Brutes, I think the Cadre are going to do pretty well, and the shooting should be pretty good. I don't think they're that fast up the board, but we'll see. And then the poor matchups are obviously going to be stuff that's very fast. So like 100 Kingdom Heavy Horse, like Orders Feudal with a bunch of Household Knights, and Sealed Temple and Crimson Tower or Ashen Dawn. They're going to come on the board so fast, I'm not going to be able to get my chip damage in. None of those, like the Hunter Cadre, won't get their rerolls because they're Cavalry, not Brutes. They won't get the Null Mage benefit. The same problem goes with Wadroon. Some of that counts as Cavalry, not Brutes, so you don't get your rerolls. There's no spellcasters in Wadroon. Wadroon's even faster than the 100 Kingdom, like with the Thunder Riders and the Quaddle. At least with the dinos, the big dinos, you'll get the rerolls on the Hunter Cadre. But it's going to be so fast up the board, it could just kind of melt the army before it fully gets, we can't wear them down fast enough. Especially with Wadroon, they can do a lot of healing if they have the Chieftain. One of them has like a heal 4. There's going to be a couple of bad matchups. We'll see how it goes, but it's going to be a fun tournament. I'm excited to try out this list, see how these experimentations go. Just keep that information filed away for doing future list building. Let me know your thoughts on the list, or if there's any changes I should make before June when we do it. I think I can still make changes. If there's things that you hate, things that you love, let me know. Otherwise, you all have a good one.